Last year, what have you done at Ward 5 to better your community?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. I have been working nonstop to advocate effectively for my community and to continue to deliver for my community. And that means holding district agencies accountable for service delivery. I've attended numerous council hearings to make sure that we have a voice in legislation that goes forward. I participated in oversight. I've attended meetings throughout the ward, meetings throughout the city. Anywhere there is an issue that affects Ward 5 residents and our quality of life, I've been there. I've given my life over to public service and advocating for the ward. So I've been really, really active. This isn't something that I'm just doing because there's a position available. I believe in public service. I believe that we can make a difference. And I have actually worked very effectively with all the stakeholders. And let me be clear, there's a difference between working with agency officials, council members, our congresswoman, and our other government partners as an effective, proactive stakeholder as opposed to their employee. Think about that. The next Ward 5 council member is going to have to deliver for Ward 5. And I don't think that we need to wait for Eleanor or one of our council members to say, go make me some copies. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we realize that's a bad mistake. You need someone that has a proven record of accomplishment, someone that has a proven record of delivering, and someone that has a proven record of actually working effectively with our stakeholders.
All right, let's talk about...
I've done that, and I will continue to do that.
Specifically, let's talk about Rhode Island Avenue. I've asked everyone a question about development, a few questions about development. What parts of Rhode Island Avenue do you feel like you can change zoning and have higher density, whether it's residential or commercial development in that area? What pieces of Rhode Island Avenue feel like has that potential?
Let me just say this. If I am fortunate enough to serve as your Ward 5 representative, I'm not just going to look at the Rhode Island Avenue corridor. I see Rhode Island Avenue as part of the bigger issue of the needs that exist in Ward 5. We have an opportunity to send someone that, I think we should send someone that has a proven track record of delivering new sidewalks, new street lights, new street trees, to really upgrade the infrastructure, not only on Rhode Island Avenue, but throughout our ward. It's not just a little snippet. We are not entitled merely to one snippet of Rhode Island. No, don't cut me off. You didn't cut off the other candidate. Right. Don't cut me off. In fact, I'm going to take as much time to answer my questions as the other candidates did, but thank you.
No, I just wanted to make sure you were answering the question.
Again, don't cut me off. You didn't interject when the other candidates strayed off into other territories. So again, let me provide you with a comprehensive answer. Take a look at the project, the Bizzuto project at Rhode Island and Reed Street, there around the Rhode Island Avenue Metro. That project took a lot of community input. It took a lot of working collaboratively with the council member's office, with the Office of Planning, hearing from citizens, actually fighting with citizens, to actually morph into a project that is now coming to fruition that is actually very attractive. And it will serve as a really positive gateway to this entire corridor. Do we stop there? Absolutely not. We want to make sure that Rhode Island Avenue becomes a destination where neighbors like Ms. Atkinson can jog without fear, where we can go to find retail opportunities, where we can start. It starts with us. If I'm elected, one of the first things I'm going to do is to look at the infrastructure of not only Rhode Island Avenue, but every neighborhood in our ward to make sure that we have the best infrastructure possible. What does that mean? It means that our streets need to be paved. We don't need potholes. We need upgraded street lighting. We need trees. We need to start making our ward more attractive. In doing so, we increase public safety. Now, once we get those housekeeping issues in order, then we can start talking about and hearing from each of you about a viable strategic economic development plan to really bring Ward 5, Rhode Island Avenue, and all of Ward 5 into fruition and to get the types of development and amenities that we need. So it's not just Rhode Island Avenue. I want everything. You want everything. We deserve it. And if you send me there, I will fight ferociously to make sure that we get our fair share of the resources that are allocated in the city.
Okay, I'll ask that question again.
Oh, you didn't like my answer?
I mean, no, it didn't address the question. The question was, what areas on Rhode Island Avenue do you see the potential for zoning changes to allow for higher density development?
Well, that's a comprehensive question. Look at that road. I'll take you back to the Bizzuto project. I support inclusionary zoning. Inclusionary zoning allows developers a higher footprint in order to get affordable housing and in order to really address the density issues. So I would start there. I think at our major intersections there are opportunities for new development. There is a stalled project at, I believe that's 13th and Rhode Island Avenue. That is ripe for some real strong input from the community, input from the Office of Planning about changing the zoning. Because frankly, I'm not happy with how Ward 5 is zoned anyway. So that's a conversation that I don't think we need to have every 20 years in the comprehensive plan. We really need to go back. So that's something I would be willing to open up to really hear from each of you and to work again with the Office of Planning to make sure that we focus on those areas, again, like 13th and Rhode Island, where we could get some higher density to get the types of projects and amenities that we want. Is that better, Mr. Clark? You like that answer?
I like that answer.
Thank you.
Okay, medical marijuana, similar to what the guy asked and the gentleman asked in the back. Medical marijuana dispensaries and cultivation centers. Are you in support of them? Why or why not? And do you think that Ward 5 residents, there's a way for Ward 5 residents to come to some sort of agreement to make them work for the entire community?
First, let me just say this. I applaud district residents for supporting the concept of medical marijuana, just like district residents voted overwhelmingly against the death penalty because we are compassionate. But frankly, the science is not there. Medical marijuana is not a viable treatment for any illness. Frankly, there are people that just want to get high. The U.S. Attorney has already said that his office will continue to prosecute violations involving medical marijuana and dispensaries. Now, there are studies that show that medical marijuana should continue to be studied. But let's be clear. I've looked at the research. There are some obscure studies from Spain, some obscure studies. They do not conclusively say that medical marijuana is a viable treatment for any illness. There are hospice indications. I was recently on Dr. Marilyn Corder's show, Village Talk, and we talked about medical marijuana. And frankly, Dr. Corder indicated that among her community, the medical doctors, they've agreed that medical marijuana has viability when you're talking about hospice treatment. But let me go back to the issue of putting one more, and now we're capped at 6 dispensaries in our ward. We're not a dumping ground. And I don't support anyone rushing to implement legislation while we don't have a council member, while we don't have a ward-wide vetting process to hear from you about what you want. Medical marijuana was voted on by district residents. I support having an opportunity for every citizen in the District of Columbia to weigh in on this issue, and for those citizens that are jumping up and down for medical marijuana dispensaries, they can advocate for having them in their ward. We're not the dumping ground. We should not be the de facto dumping ground. We should not be the repository for undesirable businesses that no one else wants. And frankly, I don't support that. I support Ward 5 having the same amenities, if not more, than other wards have.
Okay. Well, as council members, similar to what I asked these two guys, McMillan Reservoir project, what would you do to make it work? Would you go back to the drawing board? How would you get the community to come to some sort of mediating ground on that project? Do you support the plan as proposed?
I've attended numerous, as my community continued to grow in safety, and my community started to really, the paradigm shifted. Again, I spend a lot of time in other parts of the ward, and I've attended McMillan advisory group meetings. And I can tell you that's a really contentious issue. Why is it so contentious? Because the plan, first of all, there's a lack of trust with regard to the stakeholders who are actually promoting the plan. As a former member of the Historic Preservation Review Board, I appreciate the historicity of McMillan Reservoir, and I also appreciate public participation. There should be a transparent and open process where every citizen feels that they have an opportunity to be heard and their views actually incorporated into a plan that is not controversial. I did agree with Mr. McDuffie when he said that we need to really take a look at the flooding issues. There hasn't been a comprehensive DDOT plan, a transportation study. There have not been any comprehensive resolutions to how we're going to deal with the flooding issue. I've seen a number of proposals regarding the retail, what we can do. There's just unreadiness. No, I don't think we should scrap the plan, but no, I don't think that we are at the point of moving forward. Again, we need to tweak the plan. I'd like to hear more from residents. The meetings that I've attended really devolved into shouting matches on some occasions because there was unreadiness. The developer in question, we don't necessarily need to go back to the drawing board, but I think there's an opportunity to study further and to hear more from residents about what they really want and how we should treat such a viable piece of our community.
Before I get to the next question, I want to let you know that the great chef here is doing some cooking demonstrations and giving out some sample food, so you guys can try that out while you're listening to candidates. So, how do you integrate existing storefront churches into the growth of Rhode Island Avenue, which is mainly a commercial corridor? The same question I had for Steve.
Any business or any entity that's already here, I think that the entire corridor could really benefit from some sprucing up. We have churches are a part of our community. They should continue to be a part of our community, but they have to work effectively within the framework of our community. Now, what does that mean? That means that we have to make sure that we have a parking plan that supports everyone, that supports the community, and we have to make sure that churches are actually viable stakeholders. Unfortunately, churches are not always stakeholders. Unfortunately, church members don't come to community meetings as they should, and they don't want to hear all the time what residents have to say. I am an inclusive leader. I'm a proven leader citizens can trust, and the 8 years that I served as an advisory neighborhood commissioner and my other capacities, I made sure that government officials have come to our meetings, our single member district meetings, to talk to the residents, to hear what they want. That really is an open, transparent process that I actually advocate for everyone. If you're in the community, you need to hear from the community, come out to the meetings. I'm not saying that we should close down any church, but we should make sure that our churches work effectively within the framework of our community.
All right.
And that starts with a very, very frank and open discussion.